invite to the stage the inimitable, the fantastic, the hero of heroes, the person we've been waiting for, who represents the light, Mark Hamill! Yeah, baby!
Thank you all so much. And Giancarlo, I have to tell you, have you seen this man in Breaking Bad? Have you seen this man in Mandalorian? He was a revelation. All I said to my wife is, where's this guy been? You are brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
Just a brilliant
Thank you.
actor.
I love you. I love what you do.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Enjoy Mark Hamill, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. So, what do you want to talk about? Oh, I'm the major antagonist in the SpongeBob movie. Yeah. Search for SquarePants is the name of it. Now, I have known Tom Kenny 30 years. He and his wife, Jill Talley, also a wonderful talent from Chicago. And my wife and I have been friends with them for years and years and years. And Tom is just a delightful person, aside from being so talented. And I went in to do my first session. And usually the director's in the booth, right? A glass booth. In this case, Derek was directing, and he was right in front of me at a table. Tom was 2 feet away, acting out all the other characters. He's so hands-on. And they said, well, we need another session. When I was in Winnipeg, I said, can't we wait till I get back? Because I really want Tom to be there. They said, no, we really need this, even though it's not coming out till next year. Schedule-wise, we can't wait till mid-September when you're coming back. So I did a Zoom, but Tom was on the Zoom, so I was very good. And I think it went well because I made both of them laugh. I'm playing the Flying Dutchman. Yeah. Now, when they offered me the part, I didn't know I had seen it when the kids were small, but I didn't really stick with it over the years. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary. And so when I went to do my research, I said, oh, wait, this is a villain that's been on the series a long time, voiced by Brian Doyle Murray, who I don't know personally, but I loved him on Saturday Night Live. But for whatever reason, they asked me to do it. I mean, that's kind of showbiz, you know? I mean, you win some, you lose some, you're up, you're down, you're in, you're out. But I'm having the time of my life. We had so much fun doing the recording sessions. What else? Oh, on September 20th, I think it's a Friday. Anyway, next month, I'm a voice in DreamWorks' The Wild Robot. Yeah. And it's based on a Peter Brown children's book. It was a #1 bestseller in the New York Times. And I ordered the book as soon as they were interested in having me involved. And I was just, it's so moving, and it's so, it's just thrilling. I mean, it's poignant, and it's funny. It's about this high-tech robot that gets shipwrecked on an abandoned island and has to deal with nature. And I play Thorn the bear. And Catherine O'Hara's in it, who I adore, from Second City Television. She, you know, the list too long to do her justice. But for me, SCTV, I thought, was one of the greatest sketch comedies ever. I still love it. Pedro Pascal is in it. Lupita Nyong'o is the robot. and Kit Connor, who is wonderful. The whole cast is great, but what I was so thrilled to discover was they showed me footage when I went in to do my first recordings, because some of it was finished, and they kept the look of the book, which was such a relief because it's beautiful. And it struck me as one of those movies that the whole family can enjoy on different levels. Young children will like it, and adults will like it too. Now, I remember taking the kids to movies when they were small, where I was like gritting my teeth, thinking, "Ugh, I can't stand this." I would never let on, especially if they enjoyed it. You know, that's the main thing. But this is one that I think covers all the bases. Oh, my dogs are backstage, by the way. Bring on the dogs. Talk about Star Wars. So what else? It's kind of boring in talking about yourself all the time, believe it or not. But listen, I have to thank all of you, because, sometimes I'm just overwhelmed at the emotions that I sense when I meet you. I saw a grown man cry today because he was just overwhelmed. I've liked you since I was a little boy. Tell me that I'm old without telling me I'm old. But, and I have to say, because I don't really, it's like I don't get to see the reactions that people have. When I saw any of the movies, you see them at a screening. You don't go with a paying audience and see them. So sometimes it's quite a surprise to see how the impact that it has on people. Oh, I see my socks are showing on. Can you tell what that is? It's The Simpsons. That was a moment my agent called and they said, "I have good news and bad news." I said, "What's the good news?" Because I'd said, "Oh, I love The Simpsons more than life itself." They said, "They want you on The Simpsons." I said, "What's the bad news?" They want you to play yourself. I went, "Oh." I've played myself, I guess, on Big Bang Theory and on Just Shoot Me. But my point is, when you're playing a character, you don't have to take a responsibility for anything you say. It's not me, it's the character. When all of a sudden you're playing yourself, you're thinking, would I say that? Would I think that? How do I sound? I don't know. Who am I? I have no idea. Which brings me back to, I don't know what I'm here for. Why am I talking? What was another one? Regular show. I enjoyed it, but I said, it's got a kind of a Beavis and Butthead vibe in that it's about these two losers that are highly critical of everybody else. Mordecai and Rigsby. And I didn't think that one would go. Because I thought, if it were on Adult Swim and they could make pot references and stuff, that's one thing. But this is for kids. Well, 8 seasons later, I had to tell Dave Wasson, who created it, I said, I had to admit, I didn't think this was go. And I told him the very reason I just told you. And it reminded me, maybe I should write a book of advice and then people just do the opposite, like George Costanza on Seinfeld. Here's an interesting bit of news. I just heard this last week. They want to do 44 more episodes of the regular show. Is that where I'm Skips? That's Skips, right? Yeah, that one. And William Sawyers, who does Mordecai, DM'd me, saying they're going to do 40. They're short cartoons. 2 cartoons make up a half an hour. So it's the equivalent of 22 new half hours, but 44 new cartoons. And he DM'd me. He said, "Did you hear the news?" He says, "I'm just worried. Are you in or not?" Like I've somehow outgrown them. No, I'm sorry. I don't do that anymore. I've grown beyond Skips. I wrote him back and I said, "There's only one Skips." And he's very much looking forward to meeting again with his old pal Rigsby. And he sent me a gif of somebody dancing with joy. So we're going to do that. But who knew? I mean, this thing's got to be 7, 8 years old. Talk about Carrie Fisher. Well, listen, that was devastating. I don't know what level you took it at, but I mean, to me, my wife came into the bedroom. She gets up earlier than I do. I was still asleep, and tears streaming down her face, saying that Carrie didn't make it. And it forever altered, how I reacted to Star Wars in general. The heart was gone. It was just, I don't talk about it because I don't like reliving it. She was so much fun. You always knew you were going to laugh and have a good time when you were around her. Unless she was manic depressed, and then you'd flee her dressing room in a heartbeat. She wasn't easy, but she was unlike anyone I'd ever met. I remember we decided to have dinner together before we started working on the first one, just to get to know each other a little bit. And within 10 minutes, she's telling me these details about Debbie and Eddie, and so unvarnished. You're thinking, should I be hearing this? Details about Eddie's drug addiction, and you don't want to know. Because, I said, this is the kind of thing you would share with somebody that you've known for 10 years. But she was completely unvarnished and harrowingly candid. I remember, after we finished filming, she said, there's a birthday party at my house. Do you want to come? Now, see, I was the middle of 7 kids to a military family who moved coast to coast to coast to coast. And finally, my father got transferred to Japan, and I went through the last 2 years of high school at Yokohama High in Japan. And I never knew anyone famous. I didn't even know anybody who knew anyone famous. The next door neighbor was a baggage handler at San Diego Airport, and he told me the story that he returned Jerry Lewis's wallet that had fallen on the tarmac. And I was just mesmerized. Jerry Lewis exists in real life. I couldn't get my mind around it. And he gave you $50, and this is in the early 60s. He must be so rich. But that was the only encounter I had with celebrity whatsoever. Well, I go over to Carrie's birthday party, and first of all, the driveway is filled with Maseratis and all these luxury cars. I go in, and pretty much everybody was the son or daughter of somebody famous. Dean Martin's kids were there, and, you name it. It was, it's like that line from Sweet Charity. This place is so filled with celebrities. I'm the only one here I've never heard of. But I thought, it's a different life. She really is royalty. She's Hollywood royalty. She had an upbringing unlike anything I could relate to. But it just seemed right, because I went over to do that movie, and we went to North Africa first to do all the Tatooine scenes. So it was me, Sir Alec Guinness, Anthony Daniels, and Kenny Baker, and Uncle Owen and Beru, Phil Brown, and Sheila Fraser. And we shot there for 2.5 weeks or whatever it was. And then we came back to London to start the rest, to continue on. And first Harrison came over. Now, I had met him when I did the screen test. and I knew him from American Graffiti and The Conversation, the Francis Ford Coppola film. And, you know, he shows up and he's just, come on, too cool for school, right? And I immediately, I mean, I think George casts people that are so close to what he wants, he doesn't really have to, you know, deeply analyze and get the, he doesn't want to hear backstory and motivation. That's not his thing. He comes alive in the editing room. But like I say, Harrison comes on and I'm just like, instant, I just idolized him. I think he's so cool. He's so, you know, devil may care, doesn't give a heck. Hey, I don't work blue. I said that before, you know. I say, may the force be with you. Unless you're MAGA, then you can go force yourself. May the force be with you all. Listen, I want to thank you all. I've said this many times, if it weren't for the fans, I wouldn't be here. You have been so loyal and so committed throughout, not just the ones I was in, the prequels and the sequels and Rogue One and all the animated shows, Clone Wars, I mean, listen, this thing has become, I mean, I was there at the humble beginning. Remember, George called this the most expensive low-budget movie ever made because every penny had to show up on the screen. The only actors they had to pay real salaries to were Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing because they were established actors. We all made it I think we all made $1,000 a week, is my memory. And I remember complaining to my agent. I said, wow, I'm making 10 grand on primetime TV shows. She said, hey, get a grip. It's George Lucas. It's Sir Alec Guinness. It's a feature film. I went, oh, yeah. And the truth of it is, I've never been motivated by money. I've always been motivated by the character and the property. You know, like I remember watching What We Do in the Shadows, and I said, I would pay to be on that show. And I had so much fun doing it. But again, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I can't be more sincere. I love you. You are part of the Star Wars family, and you always will be. So may the force be with you all. And good night. Thank you so much.